Welcome to Coffee, Culture, and the Capital with Sophia and Greg.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. There has been a million and one things happening at the state capitol, and so today we're going to dive into two different bills, though, that have been talking about hate speech. If you follow us on social media, you've probably seen some clips of some of these bills. If you get our newsletter, we've written some stories about them. Two different bills, two different authors, very similar topics and ideas. We're going to dive all into that. But before we do, Greg, what is coming up Wednesday, June 24th?
You're right. We are doing a lobby day. So we're inviting people to not only come to the Capitol if they can, and we're going to give them information about a dozen or so bills that they can pick from and go tell their legislators and speak to their offices about these particular bills. We're going to make it really easy. If you've never done it before, come on down at 9 o'clock, register, and you'll be sent the location. And we'll do some training and just explain how it's done. And then we'll go over in groups. You don't have to do it alone, so don't be afraid. And you can take some experienced people who will be showing up with you. And you just go into these legislative offices and you mention the bills that you're concerned about or that you're for. We have a couple that we're for, and there's a bunch that we're against. But legislators need to hear from you. And so we want to make this easy. We want to make it like a thing you can do on a monthly basis. We get a lot of calls from people saying, how can I get involved? Right. And so this is one way. Now, if you can't come to the Capitol, since, California's a big state, you can actually take our sheets, our lobby sheets, print them out, and go visit your own legislators' offices, which are in your area. Every legislator has an office close to you, both your state senator and your assembly person. And you can do the same thing. You call up and say, hey, I'm coming in. I want to talk about a couple bills. And I know you can do this because I've worked on staff, and this is what we do. We have meetings with constituents, but most folks don't take advantage of this, and they should. That's the way you let your legislator know what things you're concerned about. And you can't expect them to vote any different if you don't show up. So that's what we're helping folks to do.
Amazing. So if you want to come to that or want to get the lobby sheets to learn more, you do need to register. And so you can check the show notes. There'll be a link to register. Or if you visit californiafamily.org, you find the events page. It will be there under the events. So go check that out. Another thing that we do have coming up this fall, is September technically fall?
Yeah.
I guess September's fall. I don't know. It feels like summer in California for a bit. But September 12th, we are having our Orange County Gala. So we would love to see you guys all there. Our keynote speaker, which I guess we've announced in emails, but we haven't announced on social media yet. So if you're watching, you're getting a little sneak peek. One of the benefits to watching the podcast, you get sometimes insider information before everyone else. But our keynote speaker is Seth Dillon, the CEO of the Babylon Bee. If you don't know about the Babylon Bee, they're a satire, like they do satirical news things, but it's really interesting because some of the crazy fake news stories they put together end up coming true, because sometimes in states like California, things are a little crazy. So you guys will be able to hear from Seth. You're going to hear more about CFC, the fight in California. It's one of my favorite nights of the year. Everyone gets dressed up. There's photo booths and music. And if you want to even meet Seth Dillon, there's tickets available to do that. So link in the show notes to do that, or also under the event page on the californiafamily.org website. So go check out the lobby day, September 12th, Orange County Gala. Go check that out. But Greg, back to the state capitol. There has been two bills we've been fighting all session long, AB 1803 and AB 1578, that have really been pushing things about hate speech training. I testified on 1803 last week. You testified on 1578 this week. Let's dive into them. Let's kick off with AB 1803. This is by Assemblymember Josh Lowenthal, and he's from the Long Beach area. Greg, what do we see happening with AB 1803? What is this bill trying to do?
Well, these two bills are coming out of a commission. It's like a caucus of legislators, and they have meetings and they produce reports. And this particular caucus is called the Hate Caucus, a caucus on hate and anti-Semitism, and they want to fight what they consider hateful rhetoric in society. Now, the problem is, what do they consider hateful? And that is the issue, because there's probably a bunch of stuff we all agree are hateful, and hate shouldn't be in society. Christians obviously don't promote hatred, but many times conservative Christian, Bible-believing Christians are labeled as hateful and bigots because of particularly beliefs around marriage, around sexuality, around identities. The LGBTQ ideology believes that feelings and desires determine your identity, and if you have any disagreements with making that your identity, which Christianity does, then you hate us. You are bigots. And so every time we speak up for girls only sports, or we don't want to say that, you can be trapped in the wrong body, or we don't say, hey, I can't use preferred pronouns because, I really think there's such a thing as a male and a female, and it's not determined by, individual preference. Those things aren't hateful, but they are considered hateful by people like the author of this bill. Well, there's two bills. One bill is AB 1578, but the other bill is what we're talking about now is AB 1803, and by Assemblyman Lowenthal, which you've had run-ins with. She showed up at your press conferences, upset that you're defending girl sports and claiming that you hate trans-identified people, right? And so, and he, even unfortunately, he got upset at your press conference and flipped them off. This is the same legislator who has introduced a bill that requires every company that has more than 5 employees to go through anti-hate training as part of sexual harassment training that is already required, right? And so that's what this bill is about. You testified against it, and yeah, that's the briefer on this one, and then we'll talk about the next one in a
Yeah.
second, because I
Yeah.
testified against that this week as well.
There we go. So, yes, I testified last week in the Senate Public Employment and Retirement Committee. We're going to check that testimony out because there's another thing, a little interesting thing that happened in the middle of my testimony. But with that, let's check it out.
Morning, Chair and members. My name is Sophia Lorey with California Family Council in opposition to AB 1803, which adds an anti-hate speech training to California's already mandated workplace harassment training. The bill requires employers to train their supervisors and employees to confront speech that vilifies, humiliates, or incites hatred based on protected characteristics. What is speech that is considered humiliating, or speech that vilifies or incites hatred? There is no settled legal meaning to these words. And not only do employers have to give the training to employees, but they need to get training on how to report on each other, aka to police each other's speech for signs of hate. This is sounding more like communism every day. The state will now encourage people to report on each other when they say something the government considers humiliating. But do those rules apply to legislative officials themselves who regularly use humiliation to attack those they disagree with? If you can believe this, we had a legislator come to one of our Save Girl Sports press conferences and humiliated the girls by flipping off the press conference. You can imagine how the girls felt. So I ask, who decides? The newest co-author, Assemblymember Rick Chavez-Zabur, sat in the Capitol last year and heard from me and others testify to protect girls' sports. His answer was to compare what he heard from us to Nazi Germany and the Holocaust. If that is how he hears a common sense concern, ask yourself, how would he define hate in a mandatory state training? Under this bill, would common sense beliefs and religious beliefs be labeled hate? Because that is the direction this is going. And the Supreme Court has spoken clearly. There is no hate speech exception to the First Amendment. The government cannot push speech for being offensive, and it cannot compel you to endorse its preferred message. This bill does both.
2 minutes is up. Please close. Thank you.
Okay. California should not be in the business of labeling disagreement as hate. We respectfully urge a no vote on AB 1803. Thank you.
Well, first of all, I just want to know if you guys heard her say your 2 minutes is up. They cut me off 13 seconds early. And the reason that's upsetting is you already only get 2 minutes. You already only get 120 seconds. And so if they're going to cut you off 13 seconds early, that's like that was like my whole ending. And so I don't know what could have went sideways, because she literally said, okay, you have 2 minutes. And I said, good morning, chair members. And that did they press the timer at the wrong time? Was she just over what I was saying and felt like she can end it whenever? Like, I don't know what's going on there, but that was frustrating. But all that to say, it's a bad bill. It's really attacking our freedom of speech. They just think what we say is hateful. I mean, I've been called hateful by sitting legislators, but as you heard me talk about it in the testimony, I've been compared to a Nazi for saying protect girls' sports. Senator Lowenthal flipped off our press conference because we were talking about protecting girls' sports. So, like, they don't like what we say, and then they get to do like hateful, rude things to us, and now they're
Right.
trying to do hate train. Like, it doesn't make any sense. But that bill did pass through the committee on a party line vote. For Democrats voted yes. The one Republican, he didn't vote no. He abstained though. And now that's going to head to the Senate Judiciary Committee.
Right. Right, folks. This is, I mean, they are salivating at the chance to re-educate the entire population to believe what they believe is what is hatred and what isn't hatred, right? And they have a particular definition, right? Don't accept our viewpoint on life and you are hating me, because it really does feel humiliating when you don't use my preferred pronoun, when you don't refer to me as the gender I said I was, and, you know, you get uncomfortable, you know, with me walking into your bathroom and you don't want to play sports with me, you know, that's all humiliating. And we need to re-educate the entire population. Right, folks? I mean, when you made that little comment about this is like communism, right? You think, oh, well, that's over the top. You got to do some studying of what communism was like, right? People got arrested for the things they said. And the way you got to leave prison after being arrested is you had to be re-educated, right? And sign a confession of your crimes. And when you've signed the confession, then you can, you know, come back into society re-educated, right? You know, and instead of doing that here, they're giving us tests to take, right? And who knows if they're going to give us a test, you know, on the hate speech training to make sure that, you know, we regurgitate back to them, you know, exactly the messages that they want to hear. But we know that's happening in other professions with the teachers and college students have to take tests to make sure they're sufficiently trained on gender ideology, right? And you have to pair it back to them that you know, that it's discriminatory not to use their language, right? So this kind of thing, folks, it needs to be resisted, and we can't be putting up with this. You can't let them control your speech, and the law is on our side. So there is no reason that, you know, we should be bowing down to this, and but it's going to take people standing up against it. So gear yourself up, because I think this thing's going to pass. We'll see what the governor does.
Yeah, absolutely. And Greg, AB 1578, you told us a little bit about it, but that's what you testified against this week. What is the difference between AB 1803, which we just talked about, and AB 1578?
Well, they're almost identical, except one requires training of all employees, you know, at companies with more than 5 employees. 1578, that requires that all elected officials have to go through the same training, right? So now the government is going to re-educate the elected officials to think the way the people in charge do. We've got a little bit more pushback from legislators on this, you know, because I mean this is really over the top. Like, really, you know. And so I mean, one of the things I said in my testimony today, I said this, and I got a little in trouble for it because I wasn't supposed to address the author, Assemblymember Jackson, who is the head of a committee, and I got the name wrong. It's called the Select Committee on racism, hate, and xenophobia, which he is the chair of. And these two pieces of legislation came from this committee, right? And so I said to him, I said, Assemblymember Jackson, you have given up on persuading your colleagues on parental rights and pronouns and girls' sports, and now you're just going to re-educate them, retrain them to think about this ideology just the way you think, right? To teach elected officials that, the voters have chosen that their views are hateful and no longer acceptable to speak out loud, right? And so it's really outrageous. Legislators have got to resist, and I'm really surprised they're not resisting more. But so we'll see. We'll see if Newsom also signs this, because that means he would have to go through this re-education training as well, right? And so many people got upset at him for saying it's unfair to let boys play in girl sports, and that got the LGBT community all upset at him. So is he going to have to be re-educated? We'll see. But then we had quite a reaction after my testimony from Corey Jackson, and you have to listen to it. I know Sophia was texting me, during the hearing. My phone is buzzing off on my pant leg. Her reactions to what he was saying. And after I said that, you should see what Corey Jackson said after that. So let's watch that clip. Assemblymember Jackson, you have given up persuading your colleagues on parental rights and pronouns and girls' sports, and now you want to retrain them to teach the elected officials chosen by the voters that their views...
Could you make your comments to us, not to the...
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
That was a Christian thing to do.
To teach the elected officials chosen by the voters that their views are hateful, no longer acceptable to speak out loud. This new definition does not fix that. It confirms that. Please vote no.
So, Greg, I think it's so interesting because you're testifying on the bill, and then the chair member interrupts you and says you're not allowed to talk to the author of the bill in your testimony, when you were like, that was part of it. Like, okay, since you can't convince your coworkers to believe this, now you have to force them into, like, it just, like, you were just stating, like, what's going on. But then it's so interesting for Assemblymember Corey Jackson to say, that was the Christian thing to do. Is he mocking what you said and saying, like, you didn't do the Christian thing? Or is he saying the chair member? Like, is he saying, like, yeah, you telling him not to say that, that's the Christian thing to do, not what Greg's doing? Like, it just, none of it makes sense. You obviously struck a chord with him. What you were saying was 100% accurate and true. And that was just the start, though, of him getting a little frustrated in the committee hearing. So the whole hearing's available to watch on our YouTube page. That will be linked in the show notes. So, Greg, I don't know. What do you think got him a little mad?
Well, I think it's when I said that he was going after labeling certain Christian beliefs as bigoted and hateful, right? And he's given up arguing against our views, and he's just branding people he disagrees with as hateful bigots. And I said, who he's doing it to is Christians. And, he's slandering us, he's shaming us. And the whole point of this bill is it is a censorship strategy dressed up as training. And I think that got him upset.
Yeah, I agree. So let's check out just a little clip from what he had to say.
Madam Chair, I think not a lot of people know that before I was sworn in, the Sunday before, I had to resign in my position as a youth minister in my congregation, as well as a Sunday school teacher. And my colleagues know I'm a person of deep faith, but I do not weaponize my faith against them, nor do I try to use the apparatus of the government to force people to believe what I believe and live the way I live. And I believe it is a core principle to ensure that we are being as loving and accepting of all of God's people, regardless of what they do and what they say. And so I believe that if anyone is going to profess to be a part of the Christian faith, that maybe they should try to start using rhetoric of love instead of attacking people, which is antithetical to the teachings of Jesus himself. And so I think that at the end of the day, this bill is really about the idea that as a Christian, I see people hurt, and I'm going to do everything that I can to make sure that they are protected and safe, and they have the resources that they need so that they will have the opportunity to be able to hear and accept and obey the teachings of our Savior.
Well, that's the section that when Greg said I was texting him my reactions, that was one of the portions of what Corey Jackson, someone Corey Jackson had to say that was just, oh my goodness, I cannot believe what I was hearing. I mean, first of all, he's saying that as Christians, we need to be loving and accepting of all people, regardless of the way they live. Yeah, we should love people. The Bible tells us to love our neighbor. The world has now misconstrued what it actually means to love someone. Loving someone is not affirming sin. Like, we can love someone and hate the sin, and we can love someone enough to tell them what you're doing is harmful to yourself. So for him to say, like, we need to just, however people choose to live, if people want to live in a homosexual relationship, if people want to be transgender, if people want to be drunkards, if people want to be druggies, if people want to be stealing things from banks, however people want to live, we just as Christians need to love and accept them. My goodness, where does it say that in the Bible? I mean, it says we're supposed to call out evils. We're not supposed to be of the world. We're supposed to live separately. We're supposed to be light. We're like, we are not supposed to be affirming evil things and accepting evil things. And so, I didn't know that he was a Sunday school teacher. Like, you need to figure out if your child was in that Sunday school class, and you need to unteach every false thing that he's taught to them. I mean, children don't need to be learning from a man who's going to be misconstruing what the Bible says and saying we should be accepting all of the sins. And then one last thing, Greg, and I'll let you chime in, but he also said that, like, as Christians, we need to have this rhetoric of love. Let's talk about the fact when he was on the assembly floor and literally wanted to fight Assemblymember Bill Asaley because he didn't agree with him. I mean, like, literally, like, he's saying, we just need to love everyone. Corey Jackson does not love us. He actually constantly pushes back against our Christian beliefs. And it's not our Christian beliefs and his Christian beliefs. There's one belief. There's one Bible. It's the truth. We don't get to just interpret it however we want. And so he is constantly pushing it back against his own faith. So he obviously doesn't understand what the Bible is actually saying or how Jesus actually lived, or I don't know what he's missing, what's going sideways. But for him to say that we just need to be more loving, like, let's watch the clip where he literally was going to fight Assemblymember Bill Asaley because he disagreed with what Assemblymember Bill Asaley was saying. I thought we were supposed to love them. Shouldn't I have gone and given him a hug and said, oh, I disagree with you, but I love you so much, Bill? He, like, literally, there was like a woman assembly member holding him back. We don't need to dive more into that, but let's just watch that clip real quick.
Dr. Jackson, please. You better watch yourself. Dr. Jackson, please. You better watch yourself. You better watch yourself. Corey, come on. I love it. You know I love it. I'm cool, but he's not going to smack his thumbs over here today. I know. You got it.
Okay, that man is the same man that's sitting here and is saying we just need to love everyone. So you're fighting people on the assembly floor like 2 years ago, and now, like, it just... Anyways, that was why Greg's phone kept buzzing and buzzing, because I put all of that into text. But Greg?
Right. Well, and the other thing that doesn't make any sense, when he was talking about, I'm a Christian, but I don't want to impose my views on anybody else. I don't... What? What do you think this bill is about? It's opposing your views through re-educating every elected official to think about hate just like you think about hate. This is, I don't even understand how you can say that with a straight face, right? We're all trying to influence the government to do right, and you have a particular perspective, and it's influenced by your faith. Like, I get that part, right? But to say that, that was a comment directed towards us, right? He was saying, we shouldn't be involved in trying to use our faith to influence public policy, right? And that's not what he does. Oh, yes, it is. Oh, yes, and I would never propose that the state should hold retraining, right, to teach everybody Christian values, what hate and love is. I mean, I'm assuming, yeah, that's forced religious teaching on folks. I'm for freedom of religion, right? Everybody needs to be able to say and advocate for their point of view, but you don't use state money, to advocate religious viewpoints. He is saying we all need to act like Jesus, right? And he's passing his bill to retrain us. Now, maybe his training won't mention Jesus, but his views of Jesus influence what that training is going to include. And in his mind, if Jesus affirmed everybody and every behavior and every lifestyle, right? And we should be learning how to obey Jesus. I mean, that's what he said at the end. Obey Jesus, right? Yeah, wow. I mean, I would love to, I don't know. There's so much confusion and hypocrisy and blindness. I'm not sure how to get to him. Obviously, what I said got under his skin, though, because he is slandering us. He's slandering conservative Christians, Bible-believing Christians. He's slandering them, calling them hateful because, we think there are men and there are women. That's his biblical position, which is not supported in any way by the Bible. So there you go.
Yeah, it's lunacy, but we're going to continue to show up, stand up, speak for what's right, fight for the truth, and make sure our biblical values are heard at the state capitol. And so CFC is going to continue to advocate for our biblical values for the truth. And we hope you guys can join us at the lobby day on June 24th. If you're watching this and we are past June 24th, 2026, don't fret. We will have more lobby days. So stay tuned with everything CFC is doing. Follow us on social media, California Family Council on Instagram and Facebook and X. Go to californiafamily.org. Sign up for our weekly newsletter. You'll get an email with the lay of the land in California for that week. And make sure to also use our call-in campaigns you can find on our website or on our weekly email. And that way you can make your voice heard at the state capitol as well. But with that, we will see you guys next time.